You probably don't need one, honestly.
All
All right, so we talked about the 6 parent functions or yesterday. There are more parent functions, but these are the ones that we're going to focus on. And so a parent function is the simplest function of a family of functions. So usually the parent function is not going to have addition or subtraction or multiplication or division. It's just going to be something happening to x. All right, and so the function families are those different kinds, the identity, the absolute value, the quadratic, and they share similar algebraic properties, graphs, and behaviors. And you guys know this, I think. You know all quadratic graphs kind of look the same. They're all parabolas. Now, they could be flipped over or stretched or shifted, but they all have the basic shape. Same thing with absolute value. They're all going to be V-shaped. They just might be moved around. And they'll have similar behaviors and similar properties. All right, so there's 2 parent functions that we talked about yesterday that demonstrate a constant rate of change, which means they're not curvy, they're straight. What do you think? Which 2 have a constant rate of change?
The first one?
Yeah. Yeah, identity and absolute value. Now, the absolute value, there's a constant rate of change, and then it changes to a different constant rate of change. But yeah, those are the 2. And I'm going to write out the word or the name of the function and give like the equation of it, just so you get used to both of them. So the identity function, which is just y equals x, and the absolute value, which is y equals the absolute value of x. All right, and tomorrow we're going to start talking about transformations, which you probably are going to remember quite a bit from Algebra 2. But one of the things we always like to do with transformations is identify the parent function. And so out of those 6 parent functions we talked about yesterday, what does A look the most like? You can look at your sheet. What is it? Reciprocal. Yeah. So y equals 1 over x. So if you guys didn't write the words yesterday, you might want to do that. So that very last one where it's f of x is 1 over x, that was the reciprocal function. All right, now I almost messed this one up last class. So look at it closely. What do you think the parent function is of b? You're going to want to look for the largest exponent. Cubic. Good. All right, C is fairly obvious. What do y'all think? Good. Absolute value. All right, and I do also want you to be able to recognize them from the shape. So what do you guys think about D? Nice job. And the shape is a parabola. All right, and then for number 3, we're going to let f be the absolute value function and g be the cubic function, and we're going to find 2f of negative 3 plus g of 2. So I'm going to write this with some symbols. So f of x is the absolute value of x. So f is the absolute value function. G of x is the cubic function, so x cubed. So what we're going to do is we're going to put negative 3 into f, figure out what it is, and multiply it by 2. put 2 into G, figure out what it is, and then add those two together. And I would recommend you do this without a calculator, honestly. I think you could do it faster without a calculator than with one. So do you guys know what the absolute value of negative 3 is?
3.
Just 3. So this is 2 times 3, which obviously is 6. Do you know what 2 cubed is? 8. So 2 times 2 times 2. And 6 plus 8 is just 14. Now, you are more than welcome to type it in the calculator, but by the time you find where the absolute value is, you probably could already be done with this problem. All right, and number 4, I really like. I didn't put one on your assignment because I kind of thought yesterday we'd get everything done in one day, but it's fine. But I do like. Don't be surprised if you see some more questions like this. But we're going to consider the identity function, the quadratic, cubic, and reciprocal function. So over to the side, I'm going to write what those are. So I'm going to call the identity function just f of x is x. I'm going to call the quadratic function g. So g of x is x squared. I'm going to call the cubic function h. So h of x is x cubed. All right, and then the reciprocal, I'm going to call j. Now, it's not a good idea to call something I because I is imaginary, and so we're going to skip I and call the reciprocal j. Okay, so the question is, which of these functions has the greatest output when x is 1/3? So what we're going to do is just go through. We're going to put 1/3 into each one of these functions. Now, when you put something into the identity function, you just get that same thing right out. So the output would just be 1/3 on the identity function. Right, and then we'll put it into G, which is going to take the 1/3 and it's going to square it. So squaring a fraction isn't that hard. You're just going to square the top and you're going to square the bottom. So what are you going to get? 1/9. All right. When you cube, same idea. You're going to cube the top and cube the bottom. You guys know what 3 cubed is?
27.
So 1/27. And then the reciprocal function is almost as easy as the identity function. So when you put something in, sorry, I must put 1/3. When you put something into the reciprocal function, the answer is just the reciprocal. So what is that?
3.
Just 3. And so the question is, which one of these functions gives the greatest output? So what do y'all think?
Cube.
Did you say cube?
The reciprocal.
Reciprocal function. Three is the greatest output. Which one of these functions gives the least output? Cubic. That 1/27th is the smallest out of all of those. All right, so what questions do you guys have on these parent functions? You might want to get the paper from yesterday from somebody. Yeah. All right, so the assignment is on the back.